And welcome to this week's instalment of Just Ask Jess. You might have noticed that there's no E3 sign behind me. That's because this evening I am coming from a hotel room in Ottawa, so hello from a different part of the country. So I'm just going to check that everything is streaming the way that it should be in case anybody has any questions as we go along, and we'll get this show on the road. So what I wanted to talk about today was the principle of contracting. So many of you would know that I do a lot of work with teams, how to build an effective team, and often working with teams who might be having some difficulties in how they work together or challenges in how to effectively perform. So one of the things that is really important in helping create the foundation of a strong team is something called contracting. So we have a tendency in organisations to put people all together in a room, to call them a team, and to say, ta-da, now you're labelled that, you're going to really work well together. And that's not necessarily the case. There are things that we should be doing to support those people in forming as a team and being able to highly perform. And one of the basic things that's included in that list is what we call contracting. And contracting is effectively about setting ground rules for how the team behaves. So most teams that struggle to work together don't struggle to work together because of the tasks that they do, but more often because of the personalities in the room, or because of the behaviours that are displayed, or because of how people choose to interact with each other. And so contracting is about saying, these are the ground rules, these are the acceptable ways that we work together as a team, this is what you can expect from us. And doing that up front allows people to effectively then tackle issues with each other in a more constructive fashion. So contracting is really about two things. It's about permission, everybody having permission to talk about the things that they need to talk about, and it's about establishing some common language. So anytime you have clear expectations, it's much easier to hold people accountable. The same is true in a team. So ground rules or contracting is about setting those expectations up front so people can have the conversation more easily. So what exactly would you cover in contracting? So it is what it sounds like. You have a contract with anybody around how they do work for you and what you do together. It's absolutely no different with how a team functions. You're setting rules around what to expect from each other and how to operate. So there tends to be kind of 5 questions that I get teams to answer individually and then collectively bring their answers together to help create that contract. So this is the 5. The first is, what will make us effective as a team? So what things do we need to consider or think about or agree to that are going to make us successful and effective as a team? So that could be things around how we make decisions, that could be things around how we manage time. We could have rules about making sure everybody shows up to meetings. Whatever is important to us in the way that we function as a unit. And people will tend to answer that question based on their own value set, but those things are important to then bring together with the team. So what will make us effective as a team? Second question, what do I personally need from the team to be the most successful version of me? So each person has an environment that they work best in, ways that they build relationships that are most important to them. And those things need to show up in how the team operates. So thinking about, what do I need from the people I'm going to be working with to be able to come here every day and be the best version of myself? So that might be space to process information, it might be the team to listen when I'm talking, it might be to be involved in big decisions, whatever it is that's really important to me for me to be able to be comfortable in this team, right? And everybody answers that individually, and then collectively that becomes part of the contract. So thirdly, I ask people to answer the question, how and when do we give each other feedback? So one of the most challenging things for people to do is to tackle behavioural challenges with each other, to be able to say, you know, when you do X, the impact of that on me is Y, and I really struggle with that, so can we do something about it? So agreeing up front as a team, how and when you're going to talk about things like that with each other is important for 2 reasons. One, it gives each other explicit permission to do that. So as soon as you answer that question, you are effectively saying, I give the team permission to call me on behaviour that doesn't work for them, and you're also talking about what's the best way to do that so the feedback you give will be received. Okay, so how and when do we give feedback to each other as a team? And lastly, when do we talk about how we are doing as a team and resolve any issues together? So it's likely a team will get together and talk about tasks fairly frequently. How are we doing on our goals? How's the project moving along? Whatever it is they're responsible for doing together, they're likely to cover. But when does a team sit down and talk about the team? When does the team sit down and talk about how high performing are we? What stage of team development do we think we're at? What are we doing against the 5 dysfunctions? How do we feel we're performing? What could we do to change up how we're working to be more effective? Those conversations are just as important, but if they're not planned for, it's likely the team will pass them by. So when do we talk about things that we're doing as a team? How do we tackle the issues that then show up for us? So those are the four questions that I kind of asked people to answer. What will make us effective as a team? What do I need from the other people in the team to be successful? How and when do we give each other feedback? And when do we talk about how we're doing as a team and address issues? And the last one, because I said 5, is other. Right? What else do you want the team to consider? What other things do we need to talk about that's going to help us bond as a unit that is high performing and high trusting of each other? And that could cover a multitude of things, but you need to put that on the table and then see if there are any ground rules that fall out of that. So all of that input together then helps you shape the ground rules or the contract that the team members agree to and how they work together, and you adhere to that contract as you move forwards. So when you then get together to talk about how you're doing as a team, you're comparing how you're performing against the behaviours that you committed to in the contract and giving each other feedback in the way that you committed to. So it really gives you that permission and license. So that's really what contracting is. You can find out more about contracting from us by getting in touch with us. You might also, if you're looking at the team side of things, want to download our Building Teams tip sheet, which you can find on our website. We recently relaunched the website. It doesn't look terribly different, but there is now a resource section where you can download tip sheets and guides on how to do certain things, and in there you'll find a guide tip sheet to building teams. So if you put in your email address, you can download that sheet. If there's anything else to do with teams that you're interested in, we have a one-day workshop on building teams, and we do a lot of work with teams and helping them become effective. Please feel free to get in touch with me at e3.ca, or you can contact me through Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or email, and we'll see what we can do to help. So thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, let us know, or send us through and just ask Jess whatever you need to know, and I'll do what I can to help. So have a good evening and good luck contracting with your team.